A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana wa ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah. La ilaha illa anta. Rabbi shrah li sadri. Okay, bismillah. Assalamu alaikum all. We're going to be studying the flashes, the 20th flash on sincerity. And last time we did the fifth cause, and we learned about basically how important unity among the people of truth needs to be. And this is a very practical kind of topic that we are studying, inshallah. And I look forward to your comments as well, inshallah, in this discussion. So just to summarize a little bit, there was a question that was posed, a concern that the author was sharing. Why do the people of truth have discordance, and sometimes they don't work together, are not unified, whereas the people of misguidance are much more organized and they work much better? And although they don't work towards the absolute truth, but the people of guidance, although they claim to be working towards, trying to establish their relationship with their Lord and working on that, they kind of ignore or fall into some egoistic kind of attitudes within themselves, or they kind of lose track of their sense of direction and no longer go in the proper right direction, looking at how they are achieving or establishing their relationship with their Lord. So, yeah, last time, I'm just looking at it, there was the discussion mostly focused on what happens if you don't kind of are unified and you become like a weak kind of group of individuals, and it kind of hurts basically it hurts the individual as well, and it gives rise to the attacks of basically atheism and unbelief. So there was that aspect of that. And this time, inshallah, let's try to continue with the sixth cause. And of course, if you would like to add anything, please feel free to do so. And you can always raise your hand. So sixth cause, I'm going to read the text and then we can go over it. Discord among the people of truth does not arise from lack of manliness, aspiration, and zeal. Similarly, the wholehearted union among the misguided, neglectful, and worldly, with respect to their worldly affairs, does not result from manliness, aspiration, and zeal. It is rather that the people of truth are generally concerned with benefits to be had in the hereafter, and hence direct their zeal, aspiration, and manliness to those important and numerous matters. Since they do not devote time, the true capital of man, to a single concern, their union with their fellows can never become firm. Their concerns are numerous and of a wide scope. As for the neglectful and worldly, they think only of the life of this world, and they firmly embrace the concerns of the life of this world with all their senses, their spirit, and heart, and cling firmly to whoever aids them in those concerns. Like a mad diamond merchant who gives an exorbitant price for a piece of glass worth virtually nothing. They devote time, which is of the highest value, to matters which in reality and in the view of the people of truth are worth nothing. Paying such a high price and offering oneself with the devotion of all the senses will naturally result in a wholehearted sincerity that yields success in the matter at hand. Paying such a high price and offering oneself with the devotion of all the senses will naturally result in a wholehearted sincerity that yields success in the matter at hand, so that the people of truth are defeated. As a result of this defeat, the people of truth decline into a state of abasement, humiliation, hypocrisy, and ostentation, and sincerity is lost. Thus, the people of truth are obliged to flatter and cringe before a handful of vile and lowly men of the world. O people of truth, O people of the law, people of reality and people of the path, all worshiping God. Confronted by this awesome disease of discord, overlook each other's faults. Overlook each other's faults. Close your eyes to each other's shortcomings. Behave according to the rule of courtesy established by the criterion that is the Quran in the verse, when they pass by error, they pass by it with honourable avoidance. Quran chapter 25, verse 72. Let me read that verse again. When they pass by error, they pass by it with honourable avoidance. So regard it as your primary duty. Basically, pass by it with honourable avoidance and close your eyes to each other's shortcomings, overlook each other's faults. Regard this as your primary duty, one on which your state in the hereafter depends. To abandon internal dissension when attacked by an enemy from the outside, and thereby to deliver the people of truth from their abasement and humiliation. Practice the brotherhood, love, and cooperation insistently enjoined by hundreds of Qur'anic verses and traditions of the Prophet, upon whom be blessings and peace. Establish with all of your powers a union with your fellows and brothers in religion that is stronger than the union of the worldly. Establish with all of your with all of your powers, a union with your fellows and brothers in religion that is stronger than the union of the worldly. Do not fall into dispute. Do not say to yourself, instead of spending my valuable time on such petty matters, let me spend it more on more valuable things such as the invocation of God and meditation. Then withdrawing and weakening unity. Instead of spending my valuable time on such petty matters, let me spend it on more valuable things such as the invocation of God and meditation, then withdrawing and weakening unity. For precisely what you imagine to be a matter of slight importance in this moral jihad may in fact be very great. In just the same way that under certain special and unusual conditions, the watch kept for 1 hour by a soldier may be equal to a whole year's worship. In this age, when the people of truth have been defeated, the precious day that you spend on some apparently minor matter concerning the moral struggle may be worth 1,000 days, just like the hour of that soldier. The precious day that you spend on some apparently minor matter concerning the moral struggle may be worth 1,000 days, just like the hour of that soldier. Whatever is undertaken for the sake of God cannot be divided into small and great, valuable and valueless. An atom expended in sincerity and for the sake of God's pleasure becomes like a star. What is important is not the nature of the means employed, but the result that it yields. What is important is not the nature of the means employed, but the result that it yields. As long as the result is God's pleasure and the substance employed is sincerity, any means to which recourse is had will be great, not small. So that is the sixth cause. And let's go back to the first paragraph and see what we can decipher this a little bit. So the author, how he's presenting this topic, why one of the reasons he thinks why the discordance is happening, he puts up like a principle in the beginning that it's not because of a lack of manliness, aspiration, and zeal. Like it's not about the dedication or the work amount of effort one puts, their straightforwardness to whatever they want to achieve. So they have that will and desire to do it, but it's not because of that the discordance happens. And similarly, the wholehearted union among the misguided, neglectful, and worldly with respect to their worldly affairs does not result from manliness, aspiration, and zeal. So same thing, the union of the misguided attitude is also not because of that they have that zeal or aspiration that they want to achieve something. So what is going on in terms of if it's not a matter of the will or the effort or the what they put in, like the how do you say, the aspiration and zeal. So manliness in terms of the ideas or which are more strong, they're like strong, courageous ideas. I would think the quality of manliness. So the idea is strong and powerful, but it's not about that. So then the author says it's rather the people of truth are generally concerned with benefits to be had in the hereafter, and hence direct their zeal, aspiration, and their manliness to those important and numerous matters. So that sounds pretty good, that all the energy that is one has is directed towards their relationship with their Lord. But now he says, since they do not devote time, that the true capital of man. So this is another concept I feel in this particular cause. He talks about the importance of time. I think he mentioned it twice here in the few sentences later also, since he says, since they do not devote time, which is the true capital of man, to a single concern, their union with their fellows can never become firm. So because time is so important, it is spent on maybe just the union part is kind of neglected in that aspect, because one is only engaged with their personal kind of, as he says later on, their invocations of God and meditation may be more, one may deem that to be more beneficial than working in union for the sake of truth. But we'll get to that. Let's just try. I'm just trying to think loudly here as well. And of course, your comments would be helpful as well. So their union with their fellows can never become firm because there's no time left, I would imagine, because of their concern is for some high, like the lofty, as we were saying, in terms of establishing their, their hereafter. So that is one of the concerns. As for the neglectful and worldly, they don't think only of this world, and they firmly embrace the concerns of the life of this world with all their senses. So we did discuss basically, the idea here that whatever you kind of aim for, you work for it. Basically, as hard as you work, you get that. No matter if you're a believer or a non-believer, whatever you're working for, the order that is in creation allows you that if you put in the effort, you go and work out, you study for some exam, and you spend a few, days and continuously work for it by the order in the way the universe is established. You can take advantage of that order and you get your result. So it doesn't mean that, it doesn't matter if you are a believer or non-believer. Everybody who works hard gets what they are looking or working towards. Now, so the neglectful worldly, they think only of the life of this world, and they firmly embrace the concerns of the life of this world with all their senses. I'm just reading that. Their spirit and heart, and cling firmly to whoever aids them in those concerns. So now there's a contrast to the worldly, how they get their union. So all their time is basically devoted to getting that worldly thing that is something temporary, not something eternal, which is what the people of truth or people of guidance are working towards. So there's an example that he gives that like a mad diamond merchant who gives an exorbitant price for a piece of glass worth virtually nothing. So all that time, which is the capital, as the author kind of mentioned, that how important our time is, how valuable, how we spend our time. The true capital of man is spent on something that will yield nothing towards the end. That's how the worldly view is, that just for the instant pleasure, for that temporary pleasure, for some time being, I would spend all my energy and time. Yes, I will be able to get it, but the end result is zero, death, nothing really worth for it. So, but the same time can be used, as the people of truth are doing. They are working on their important matters, so numerous matters. So just wanted to ask a question to the audience here. In the time where he says that, since they do not devote time, the true capital of man, to a single concern, their union with their fellows can never become firm. And then he says their concerns are numerous and of a wide scope. So what do you guys understand from the numerous concerns? What are those concerns? And of a wide scope, I can see that they're not for short term. They are, for they're looking for a purpose in their existence, and they're working towards the absolute truth, and are working, in terms of establishing their relationship with their Lord. So that is something that is valued. So it has a wide scope. It's not something only limited to this world, restricted, but their concerns are numerous. Would anybody like to share what they think, what their concerns are numerous is referring to? Yeah, you can raise your hand if you would like to speak. I see. Thank you, Faria, go ahead, please.
The numerous concern, I think those are existential human queries and concerns. What am I doing here? Where do I come from, and where is everything going? Or where am I going, essentially? So these are the numerous concerns. Although, like you pointed out, that the text clearly state that the people of truth are most likely to be working for the hereafter. But at the same time, we are in this universe, we interact here, we experience several things going on in our lives, different stages, everything is changing, subject to change. So we really wonder, like, what am I to do here? And yeah, exactly, what am I to do here? Yes, I know that my existence does not end with death, but then how am I to utilize this existence, or what am I to do here? Because clearly I find myself in existence and I don't know what to do with it sometimes.
Thank you, Fariha, for opening up the conversation. So I would also say, like the concerns, everybody, as human beings, we all have the same concerns. There are like concerns that we share with the way the worldly people have some things that they are working towards. Like maybe there's some goals or some ideas that they're kind of sharing and trying to inculcate. And the people of truth also want to bring about the reality, the truth. So there's something that they want to do also. And then of course there are concerns of the regular concerns that every person, let's say in a city, has in terms of their day-to-day kind of living concerns. They have something, they can sleep somewhere, they can eat something, they have those concerns, and which is what every human being has. But then there is also other concerns, as you mentioned, about the why am I here, the human concerns. So far so good, Fariha. Yeah, so the human concerns, since nobody's talking here, I'm trying to make it like a little interactive. If people can participate also, that would be great.
Yeah, I think human concerns would be mainly what I think the author is touching upon, because the rest, everybody has those concerns, like you're saying, like the worldly concern we find ourselves in. We need food, shelter, like you mentioned, and everybody follows the order in creation. Sure, go for it. But then there's also the stage where you question, what is all this for? What am I doing? What I'm doing? Is that it? Am I just here to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. and then die? What is the ultimate aim? Yes, we know that existence cannot consist of this universe, but really, then what do I do? I think that's what the concerns are numerous, because human concerns, like you mentioned, are numerous as well. And at the root of everything, the human concerns come first, which mostly gets shun away with the other concerns. So that's what I want to say.
Great, thank you very much, Fariha. And when you add that to of a wide scope, right? So it does go towards the human side of the questions. Why am I here? Right? How come I'm here? Who made me? So then it does go towards establishing my relationship with my Lord. Right? That does make sense, because I don't want to be a short-sighted person, because I know that these things are temporary. So the people of truth have that understanding that this is not the place or the permanent address of any human being. So there is something that they are looking for, which is that they want to be happy, not just temporarily or for the time being, but they want to keep that happiness eternally. So it does have that wide scope, and the concerns are valid. You want to make sure that these concerns are kind of addressed, and that I get that confidence and satisfaction in this world to be, to be sure, these promises or these desires that I have are gonna be there, and the reward that is only with my Lord. As there was, I think we discussed that in a previous kind of section, where the reward of a believer lies with their Lord. So there has to be no expectation. I just have to do whatever I'm supposed to do in terms of my purpose and existence of establishing my relationship with whatever I do, and realizing that all these things are there for me to benefit from and are given to me for that purpose. So that is what how I would kind of address this as the people of guidance. And then as for like he goes on into the sentence, like in that paragraph where he talks about towards the end of the paragraph that sincerity is lost, like such a high price with sincerity. So you do get the results if you are if you put all your energy, effort, all your human qualities to get something. Yeah, you do get there is that success, yield success in the whatever the matter is, no matter what it is for. And the people of truth are defeated because they haven't spent the energy or their their qualities just for those things that are the matters that where they are defeated at. And of course, because of the because they have those concerns as well. So this is a little, I'm kind of trying to understand what's going on here. The people of truth are obliged to flatter and cringe before a handful of vile and lowly men of the world. Like because they're not, there's no union, or they are kind of, they have to for what purpose are, the people of truth have to go and flatter and cringe for? Anybody would like to add their thoughts?
Before moving on to this question, I think I was still pondering over the concern, the numerous concerns that the people of guidance may have. Because if you're people of guidance, you already have some kind of understanding of the reality of this existence, the universe. And so I was thinking my concern can be with the events that I experience. How do I connect those events to the one that brings existence? So I think that will be all these numerous concerns that the author is referring to I at this point, because after having some kind of understanding of creator of the universe, eternal life, eternal existence, then I say, hey, how do I connect my experiences right now, the events, how do I connect that to the source of my existence so I can secure an eternal life? So those would be some concerns, I would say.
Yeah, and that's what the importance, as he says, those important and numerous matters, right? So those are deemed much more valuable and more beneficial, as Faria, you mentioned. Thank you.
Your second question?
So my second was towards the end of the paragraph where he says that sincerity is lost. So why do the people of truth decline to a state of abasement, humiliation, and then are obliged to flatter and cringe before a handful of vile and lowly men of the world? Why would, men of truth have to resort to that? Although inwardly they would not want to, because they understand that this is just a temporary thing or need that they may have, for which they have to flatter and cringe towards the worldly. But because that's, we have to live in this civilization, society, in this world. So how is this working? Like, how, if somebody can speak to it, that would be great. Anybody would like to talk on this? Faria, go ahead. MashaAllah.
I would say, like you said, you pointed out, because we interact here in the universe and people have different sort of worldviews and perspectives. And even so, we work with everything around us, with every creation, we come across every sort of ideas. And so things we do, we have to follow the order in creation. So I need food, I would sow a seed, water it, plant it. So everything in the universe is working in harmony. So that's for the seed to grow into a plant, as in that's how the order is set up. But within this, there are other factors we need to consider as well in terms of, like, because I live in this universe, I'm interacting with all sorts of ideas. I don't know, I'm not able to really express this out, but.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And there's also, like, we did touch upon this in the last cause, the fifth cause, towards the end, where the union, we were discussing about the union. And once, if you're become a weak community or a weak group of people, it's kind of weakens even the perception of the absolute, like, what you're working towards, the absolute truth. So the whatever the values you're holding, or the matters that I would like to, that I hold dear to, or that are more beneficial to me, which are the human kind side of things and my relationship with my Lord. So if there is, if it's always left to the individual and not in terms of the more union kind of as a community, then I feel that it becomes like a laughing stock for the worldly, where they say, hey, look at these religious people and so-called, and they can't even get their things done. It's simple things that you just have to work towards. They can't even get towards those things. So is that what this author is kind of hinting at, or? Okay, so there is a comment and question. So Sarah is saying, why are the people of truth defeated? I am confused about this point. The sentence, paying such a high price, is that referring to the worldly? Paying such a high price, is that referring to the worldly? Yeah, so paying such a high price is basically your time, which is the main capital. As the author is saying, basically everything that is given, your feelings and senses, and how one uses their time and their senses, their intellect, their reasoning for some minor worldly purpose. That is the very high price for something that is not eternal. It's just for temporary basis. That's how I was understanding it. And the people of truth are defeated because the energy and their time is mostly used. Maybe it's more focused towards the end of life or their next creation. And the energy, time maybe not be spent, even though you can make your living with that consciousness awareness, with your your qualities and senses can still be used, but their direction can be changed towards establishing that relationship with your Lord. But yeah, for you, go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I don't get that point. Why are the people of truth defeated? So I understand the bargain that the author is mentioning about not connecting any of my feelings to an eternal existence, rather than just following the order for the sake of gaining the world. Definitely, I'm at a loss here. But then, what is he saying here? Paying such a high price and offering oneself with the devotion of all the senses will naturally result in a wholehearted sincerity that yields success in the matter at hand, so that the people of truth are defeated. That's weird.
Yeah, so basically, as if one spends all their time and energy on something, you get that result. So So yeah, if anybody wants to speak, please raise your hand and then we'll give you the mic. Yep, Brother Ali, go ahead.
Can we talk about something which is discussed further? Because you summarized it really, you covered up the subject and main points. What attracted my attention about this simple and very descriptive example of the soldier who is in the position of watch. I don't know how it is said in English. It means the whole army, not all maybe, but part of the army, thousands of people are sleeping, and one person, one soldier is on watch. While he is doing this 1 hour, for example, watch duty, he gains 1 hour times number of the soldiers that he is securing, of course, not the creation side of it, but as a position, as his duty, securing thousands of people's life. So 1 hour is multiplied, in fact, 1,000. That's why I think it is a narration in Islamic culture, maybe related to a hadith narration. I have no idea. But when somebody takes or does a duty concerning thousands of people, more number of people, his reward will be multiplied immensely according to the number, maybe more, because 1,000 people are comfortably speaking because of one person's duty or one person's work. So I understand why the author is giving this example as follows. Authors, I think it is the concern that the author wants to draw our attention in order to take a position, pick up a responsibility, not only for your own safety in this world and in the hereafter, as a man of the truth, in order to gain the pleasure of God, for example, or reward from God, I pay attention to my duty, but my duty concerns me alone. Instead, I understand the example tells me my duty should not concern me alone. My duty should concern me and including all the whole community of the people of the truth. So if I take notice of the need of the community, of the need of the truth altogether, and for example, while 1,000 people, 1,000 soldiers are sleeping there, I am on watch. Exactly like this, the author of this text says, be on watch of the safety of the whole community of the truth, and including yourself and all the community of the truth will be in safe because of your concern about the unity of these people. Like the soldier's concern waiting on the watch means he is waiting there in order to secure the safety of the thousands of soldiers. So we have to give the priority to the safety of the benefit of the 1,000 or thousands of the people of truth. In fact, the text emphasizes on it not about the number, about the truth itself. We have to defend the truth rather than my truth, my understanding of the truth. If anybody wants to contribute to the defense of the truth, I have to support him. I shouldn't oppose him. I shouldn't compete with him. I should never, ever envy him or her. I have to be very careful not to cause any discordance about the people of the truth, rather than defending my own truth and disregarding the unity of the people of the truth in general, because this is important as far as I understand. The people of the truth has many layers of perspectives. For example, some of them wants to defend hadith narrations. Some of them, people of truth, Sarah, what did you mean? They have said people of the truth, people of truth. Are you correcting? Well, I will be very pleased if you correct my language. If it is for language, or am I making a mistake? I want to hear correctly. All the Muslims who are believing. No, people of truth. No, people of truth, the word. So sorry, people of truth doesn't refer to Muslims or specifically Muslim believers. I don't think so. People of truth, depending on the area. For example, belief in God, people of truth, as far as the belief in God is concerned, people of truth, everybody in the world, he believes at all levels. Doesn't matter the levels, maybe a very, very primitive level or very sophisticated high level of belief. Doesn't matter. We have to unite with the people who believe in God in general, because we cannot expect everybody at my level. I don't know whether my level is upper than theirs or lower than theirs. I cannot guarantee. So whoever says, I believe there is God who created the universe, we have to keep the unity among them. So for the sake of truth, we have to concentrate on defending the truth itself, not the way it is presented, not the way the details may vary from people to people. We should never ever deviate from the unity of the whole body of the believers. For example, when it comes to believing in God's speech, God speaks to human beings, but there are Jews says God spoke to human beings. Christians say God spoke to human beings. Muslims say God spoke to human beings. In this case, we have to unite about the truthfulness of the revelation in general, not a particular revelation. Leave that one aside. Torah is corrupted. Just a minute. We are here trying to make a whole body of a community which believes that God speaks to human beings. So there is no discordance. Now, we come to the belief in the prophethood. That's what the Quran also follows this method and teaches us. When it comes to the prophethood, and Jews have their own understanding of prophethood. Christians have, and may not have, to some sects among them, denominations don't believe in prophethood, but most of the Christian community believes that the prophets of the Old Testament, Torah narrations, are correct. So we have to unite on it. And when it comes to a narrower circle, which says Muhammad is the messenger of God, one of these prophets, and some Christians say no, Jews say no. That is the point of dispute. While you are with Christians and Jews, don't mention about the name of Muhammad, because that is a matter of dispute. Don't encourage dispute and fight, conflict between the people who believe in the messengership in general. This is very important that we really don't pay attention to it. But when it comes to the matter which may be involved with the area of dispute, for example, Muhammad is the messenger of God, or as the Jews and Christians say, no, don't mention, don't bring it because it causes disunity. It means we will lose the Muslim believing community, will lose their strength as far as defending the belief in God, as far as defending that the God speaks, as far as defending the God sends or appoints messengers. You see, we are losing all these elements while we are arguing and causing dispute and discordance among the, in general, under the general umbrella of belief in general in religion. We are emphasizing on the points of discordance. That's why, depending on the position, we have to keep the unity. For example, when the prophet argued with the Jews, it never argued about believing God, about believing the prophethoods, about the belief in revelation, but the argument, when it is necessary, the prophet did not really reject the Jewish community directly, but the Jewish community kept denying the prophethood of Muhammad and caused dispute between the believing Muslim community and Jewish community, and try to, what is the word? How do you say? Make, like, not hypocrisy, treason, I think this is right, treason, in the Medina administrative organization. We have to understand that this is different. Medina administrative organization must be kept, it is unity. But they didn't want to accept Muhammad's messengership. Therefore, they didn't want to accept Muhammad's administration. They united with the enemy of everything, which is not only Medina administration. They were the pagans of Arabian Peninsula were against, not all of them, but some of them, were against belief in God alone without any partner or any deity next to it. They were against that God speaks. They didn't believe in that. And they were against God sends messenger. They didn't believe in that. They were against there is an hereafter. They didn't believe in them. But they united with them. That is why Prophet took a defensive and at the end really expelling them from the area because of the discordance causing all the fundamentals of Medina administration, if you like, all the fundamentals, truth of the Medina administration, and causing discordance there by the Jewish community. Otherwise, while they were not causing this kind of, how do you say, again, breaching the treaty, when they were Jews practicing their own religious tradition, but obeying the rules and the principles, articles of the treaty, there was no conflict between the prophet and his followers and Jewish community. We have to make this distinction. It is extremely important. although I wanted to say, to keep the unity of the believers in truth has many layers, and according to those layers, we have to adjust our position. I think this matter is important because we say we cannot be together with Jews. Why? Because they don't believe in the prophethood of Muhammad, and they corrupted the Torah. Okay, that's correct. But don't you have any common point, as the Quran says? Come to the common word among, it means common point or points among yourselves. Do they believe in God? Yeah. Do they believe that God appointed messengers? Yeah. Do they believe that God sent message through verbal expressions? Yeah. Do they believe in the existence of the hereafter? They don't deny it completely, but they interpret it another way. But at least they believe in the necessity of the existence of hereafter. But they interpret it differently. But at this level, we have to unite with them. When it comes to the belief in the prophethood of Muhammad, yes. But as long as there's no reason why we should fight there, leave them alone, take care of your own responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Ali, for that explanation. And the soldier example that made much clearer how much unity is important, and about the point towards the end of the paragraph about whatever is done for the sake of God cannot be divided into small and great. So anything, for the sake of even the community that you're doing as a responsible in order to support that actually the message or whatever the community stands for, which is their belief in God, that holds right. That is something that is worth, going for and spending your time for, because that, as he said, just like the soldiers, 1 hour is equal to his whole year of worship. So people of truth, if they, understand that the duty that they have towards unifying the idea of belief, and it is as valuable as their whole, as much, there's no point in discussing how much or what it is extremely valuable. And there was a hand up, I saw that. I think, Sarah, you wanted to add something? Would you like to speak? Please go ahead.
Thank you, mashallah, for clarifying. That was very helpful. From what I understand, this is referring to those people who, I was just confused because the first paragraph was separating people who concern themselves with matters of the hereafter versus the neglectful or the worldly as two separate categories. And now the clarification came that discord refers to not, and I agree completely with, not to have discord with anyone who is investing their time with belief matters, regardless of what they believe in, as long as we can come to some common grounds. My question was, this then, the discord is not referring to cultural practice of quote unquote Muslims, or discord about social phenomena or things like that don't, with people who claim some cultural belief, but again, then the way of acting is not necessarily in line with that. I was just making sure that discord refers to not having discord with anyone who in general has the concerns with the belief of the truth, whatever their worldview may be, and not anyone who claims quote unquote belief in God and lives quote unquote, Muslim in a cultural way. And that was my question, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Sarah. That's a great question. And So the, in his previous causes that he was explaining in this on sincerity. So doesn't matter if it's a cultural belief or a more valid belief, as however you may deem that to be, because the idea is, what do they stand for, what do they hold? And the main concern is basically atheism, which is very prevalent and becoming very strong. So the idea of basically just this is, there is no God. That is pretty, the author made a very significant emphasis on that. So as I think Brothers Ali's mentioned about, the doesn't matter if it's the Jewish or it's the Christians, those differences, whether, do you really believe in the creator as, that there must be, or in the prophethood of Muhammad. So there are those, there might be those, clarifications that, one may not get along, but those are very insignificant when it comes to that, the belief in God. So understanding that, there is an owner to this universe. So that is what that coming to that understanding, that idea that there is that truth, that there must be an absolute creator and an owner to this universe. So that is the idea that one must hold strong to. But if anybody would like to add anything, please go ahead. But yeah, so in going on, like that is what the, in his next few paragraphs about the people of the truth, since there's already a foundation in terms of, people of truth, is that there is some affinity to the absolute truth that one holds, and one tries to, even no matter what level, what stage, we're not here to judge anyone. It's an important factor of what sincerity is. It's not to judge anyone that this is a cultural or this is a non-cultural. So that's not what we should be doing, and that is part of what the the human egoistic tendencies kind of are, play a role in there. So we have to be we have to be watchful for those kind of things. And this author kind of touched upon those things about, some principles that he kind of got from the Quran. There was like a list previously that, he says pre-birth. Maybe we can go over, like he had like a list of 9 things, act positively out of love, unite within the fold, adopt the just rule, hold to the union with the people of truth, abandon the self and the egoism, give up the mistaken concept of self-pride. And one of the really beautiful ones was the insignificant feelings that cause rivalry among people. So, hey, this group of people believe in such and such thing, whereas, it doesn't sit well with me. Okay, but that is an insignificant feeling. So there's no need to dispute on those insignificant points. So that was just to recap a little bit on, how we're trying to understand how to live with sincerity and really practice that sincere, whatever we believe in sincerely, rather than just, outwardly. It has to be also inwardly, like we have to be practical with it, not just theoretical that, hey, I know that egoism is something I should not have, but still in my engagement with the others, if I disregard the feelings of the other individuals, then there is a problem. I have to work on that to be more, to be sincere in my practice. So let's see. So I found it very interesting, how he says that, and when we go to the verse of on page 208, back to the 6th cause, And it says, when they pass by error, they pass by it with honourable avoidance. Verse from the Quran, chapter 25, verse 72. And just highlighting the rule of courtesy. And I mean, these are like really important principles about overlooking each other's faults. You know, I mean, I think somebody commented it's not easy, but yeah, that's true. It's challenging, but you know, this is the thing that we are learning here. So that overlooking each other's faults and close your eyes to each other's shortcomings, you know, instead of just gossiping about somebody's, hey, you know, this is what this person did. And, you know, like, you know, if you go to maybe a church or a masjid or whatever, a mosque, you know, and commenting on, you know, somebody's, you know, way of praying, that's a ridiculous kind of thing to do. I mean, it's a minor matter, it's insignificant. At least the person is praying and establishing their relationship with their Lord. So as Hamim has put a comment here, my relationship with my Creator is personal to me, and the existence of the absolute truth is what I am in agreement with. I agree with that. Thank you. Beautiful comment. Thank you. Would you like to add anything more? And perfect. And okay, yeah, so there's a hand up. Brother Ali, please go ahead. Brother Ali, you're on mute.
This verse is very important, and he doesn't use this verse here only. In many contexts, he uses it. One of the referred verse is this, I think. But it is not that easy to understand it, although my understanding is just a continuation of the previous comment I made, just a continuation of it. Because, for example, if you are invited to a friend's house and he offered you 3 different courses, that's a salad, soup, or main course, whatever, and something sweet as well, dessert. Okay, but you didn't like dessert, for example. Don't say dessert wasn't nice. Say salad was excellent, soup was delicious, etc. Ignore that one because it causes dispute. So when you pass by error, they pass by it with with honorable avoidance. It means not only sarcastic avoidance. That is something, but okay, it is not mentioned is better for something like that. No, honorable way. Of course, this example is simple, yeah. But in practical life, for example, again, I will go back to Christian tradition. Let's say we are living in most Christian and very, very few examples of Jews as well, Jewish tradition, practicing people. In New York, there are a lot, by the way, but not everywhere in the United States. Anyway, for example, you happen to be with a Christian family, with a Christian person who follows the Christian tradition. What we will do, because they emphasized on maybe this person, of course, there are many various denominations in Christianity. Somebody tried to count that it really went up to 3,000 denominations in the United States only. But it doesn't mean that we have to blame them because of these different denominations. Muslims also have their own denominations. Anyways, this is human. Human beings have different capacity and different approach, different expectations. So different conclusions. That is expected, normal. This is how the universe has been established. So let's say this person believes in Trinity. But it says God the Father is the creator. Yeah, God the Father is the creator. God the Son represents God here and the Holy Spirit were everywhere controlling the universe. Whatever it is. So 2 points I personally disagree. God the Son, I disagree. And Holy Spirit, independent of God, which is actually, it's an interesting topic and it's an interesting subject. We can discuss on what Holy Spirit represents and what the Quran says, Ruh al-Qudus, also about Gabriel. So we have to be, I mean, relaxed and flexible when they say Holy Spirit. But Holy Spirit, in their eye, an aspect of God, but in Muslims' eye, the aspect of the creation which points to God. It means angelic aspect of the creation. But we have some sort of commonality there. But especially, we have the main common point here, that God is the creator of the universe. So why do we go into, and not only go, directly fall into the point of dispute? We say, no, God cannot have the son. They say, of course cannot. We didn't mean that. It's adopted son. It is symbolic son, etc. Interpretation. Why do you attack that? The universe has a creator. Concentrate on the creator and maybe discuss on the qualities of the creator which are necessary in order to be a creator, so that you may maybe end up with the absoluteness of the creator, so that the idea, the understanding of absoluteness of the creator definitely discards having a son representing him in the world. But concentrate on the point of unity and not error. Past the error, I believe, if the Muslims, the believers, the followers of the Quran, I wouldn't say Muslims, followers of the Quranic teaching, has any concern about the rapid and high increase of atheism among the human race, if we want to preserve and spread the idea of creatorship of God, as God the creator, we have to unite with the Christians. Forget about the points of dispute, which according to me, it is an error. This is an error, yeah, but pass by error with honorable avoidance. It means as if we don't have this point of dispute at all. Just treat the person in an honorable way. So that we believe in God, the creator. Congratulations. Let's unite on it. Let's try to understand God together and maybe defend the necessary existence of God against the ideologies of atheism, all kinds of. Take a united line, make a united line together. Actually, the author makes this attitude clearly explained in another part of his writing. Against the denial of the creator, we have to unite with the people of believing people, Christians, Jews, in God. We have to unite them. So we have to understand that against and he says, depending on the area, that's what I want to say. I shouldn't really speak more. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Anyone else who would like to add anything or any comment by anyone? So it's interesting how the author says about, this is the primary duty. regard it as your primary, signifies how important this fact is, or this point is in this courtesy, and just overlooking each other's faults, close your eyes to each other's shortcomings. It's very practical and it's so livable, but it's such a beautiful thing if it works, if we are aware of it and really live with that message and make it our primary duty, because that is more valuable, or much more valuable, as the author kind of points out, than if somebody says, let me spend the valuable time on things such as invocation of God and meditation, as he kind of hints that if I see that my time is better spent there, but ignoring the fact that, the relationships with others, we gave, I guess, in a few sessions, the example of a driver who's driving and has the good objective, but his route, he's ignoring everybody else, ignoring their, the traffic signals, just bypassing everything and really being a danger to everyone else. So that is really a poor way of, establishing your relationship with your Lord. So it is important to keep in mind that, the means by which we are working towards the absolute truth has to be clear and good. It's not crooked. So that path, as we, has to be the straight path, siratul mustaqim in Arabic, with the straight path, which takes into account the feelings of other folks. And so instead of spending my valuable time on such petty matters, this is regarded as something that is working towards the union, as just like the example of the soldier who watches for 1 hour, but it benefits the thousands of other soldiers. So it's not a petty matter. It is it's a serious matter, that the unity of the community and working towards that is something that is very good. And then of course he says that, towards the end, and as long as the result is God's pleasure and the substance employed is sincerity, any means to which recourse is had will be great, not small. That's the last sentence of the sixth cause. So it doesn't matter, whatever, as the result is important, but the substance employed, as long as it's sincerely employed, doesn't matter if it's big or small. So even if you smile at someone, such a small act, but it does wonders. It has a lasting and more. It's pleasing, and it's it's sincerely a sincere smile, not like a fake smile, but a sincere smile is something that can have a tremendous impact, and that is a good result in the I would say. So I think this is pretty much what was the sixth cause. If anybody would like to discuss anything else. Yeah, I see a beautiful smile here. Thank you for drawing that. Sarah, go ahead.
I really appreciate the authors saying regard it as your primary duty, because in my mind I'm thinking of all of the challenging situations where discord comes, not regarding belief, but just regarding human social interactions. And I love the point that when you weigh an interaction or with another human being in this limited place of time and space, with what he says, your state in the hereafter depends. So it's really not only your primary duty, it seems like it's the only real responsibility here on earth. So not only primary duty, but really only real duty is to, like Brother Ali said, represent the truth and defend the truth, and I love the way that representation here is deemed through unity and compassion, and following that example as the greatest representation of the truth in character form. I think this is really just a profound goal to aspire to, and I'm so glad I joined.
Thank you, Sarah. Looks like Shakur enjoyed it as well. Thank you. Anybody else who would like to add anything? Any comment? If not, we can just go over a little bit of the seventh cause and then we'll discuss that in the next session that we have. Sorry, your hand is still up. Would you like to say something? No worries. Thank you.
No, sorry. Thank
you. Okay. Yeah, so seventh cause. Let's see. Yeah, that is pretty much the end. Let's see, we have a few minutes. Yeah, let me start it. Maybe one paragraph and we can discuss that. So seventh cause, dispute and rivalry among the people of truth do not arise from jealousy and greed for the world. And conversely, union among the worldly and neglectful does not arise from generosity and magnanimity. Oh, I see the hand for Mariam. Thank you for you. Mariam, would you like to speak? Please go ahead.
Before we start the seventh cause, can I read my notes?
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my first note for the sixth cause was, it doesn't matter if you're a believer or a non-believer. If you work hard, you will get what you have worked for. Your existence doesn't end with death. People of the truth refers to believers, not specifically Muslims. Do not cause discord between people who look for the truth. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. Look for common points between your religion and another, not differences. The existence of the truth is what I am in agreement with. Avoid the negative parts of something. So the verse, when they pass by error, they pass it with honourable avoidance, means to avoid negative parts of something. So like, if you had two options to tell something to someone, don't say, I didn't like the pool. You could say, I love the water park instead. You might have good intentions, but you can't reach them because you're on the wrong path. An example is, there is somebody learning how to drive. He has good intentions, but he isn't following any of the rules on the road and not paying attention to anything or anyone. You build your heaven here. Your primary and only duty is to build a high level in heaven. And that was my last note.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Mariam. And H. Beza has an applause, and there are other applauses here as well. Beautiful. Thank you. All right. I think so. Any other points? Please raise your hand if you want to speak or say something. All right. So yeah, so this next seventh cause, I think, is something we can just, I'm going to read the first paragraph, and I think that will set up the stage for the next discussion. So dispute and rivalry, of course, dispute is the matter here, that we need to stop disputing amongst each other, overlooking each other's faults. You know, it builds good relationships even, right? That so discordance is never helpful. It always creates enmity among people. So, and of course, we're not judging anyone. That is something we need to learn, that we should not be judging anyone. So dispute and rivalry among the people of truth do not arise from jealousy and greed for the world. So they do not, but yeah, there's nothing, there's no greed for the world. Of course, they're working for the, their relationship with their Lord and for their afterlife. And conversely, union among the worldly and neglectful does not arise from generosity and magnanimity. So it is rather that the people of truth are unable to preserve fully the magnanimity and high aspiration that proceed from the truth. So the people of truth are unable to preserve fully the magnanimity and high aspiration. So magnanimity is like that awesomeness, like the lofty goals or the lofty, the holding to the affinity to the absolute truth. How important that is to understand this holding that affinity to the absolute truth and building union with those that are holding that affinity to that absolute truth. So that is the magnanimity and high aspiration that proceed from the truth, or the laudable form of competition. Laudable form of competition that exists on God's path. Infiltrated by the unworthy, they partially misuse that laudable form of competition and fall into rivalry and dispute, causing grave harm both to themselves and to the Islamic community. As for the people of neglect and misguidance, in order not to lose the benefits with which they are infatuated, and not to offend the leaders and companions, they worship for the sake of benefit in their utter humiliation, abasement, and lack of manliness. They practice union at all costs with their companions, however abominable, treacherous, and harmful they be, and wholeheartedly agree with their partners in whatever form may be dictated by their common interest. As a result of this wholeheartedness, they indeed attain the benefits desired. So I will just pause here and just because I think this will continue on. So I think something that took my attention was what is the laudable form of competition that exists on God's path. So maybe that is something we can hold on to and see for the next discussion. What that is, laudable form of competition that exists. So something that is worthy and is beneficial. So basically, I would think as Brother Ali was giving an example about, discussing, let's say, Trinity and, the Holy Spirit, and then say, hey, let's, befriending the person and say, hey, let's discuss this and let's discuss a little, try to understand each other. And of course, not to cause discordance, but, if somebody is willing to listen and, we can share the ideas along. So that is, I think, because it's trying to understand what, the absolute truth as well. So that's what God's path is. And infiltrated by the unworthy, they partially misuse that laudable form of competition and fall into rivalry and dispute. So instead of sharing like ideas in a more meaningful way, respecting each other, respectful is important. And, there is that, hey, I am whatever I'm saying is the truth. There's no other truth other than that one. So that may happen. So when that happens, when the egoistic tendency where one may claim that I hold the absolute truth rather than there must be an absolute truth. That's one. Versus I know the absolute truth is something that is egoistic because that discards every other viewpoint. So that would be what the rivalry would lead to, rivalry and dispute. So inshallah, I think this will be something we can take on next Sunday, inshallah. Thank you, everyone. If there's any final comment anybody would like to say, please go ahead. And I think we can conclude for today, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka anta alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.